All right, all you, lady.
All right, before I start, I just have to say, regarding faith and all of that stuff, I consider myself a baby Christian. I am still very new in my faith, and please don't anyone take offense to this. I'm a recovering Catholic. I know a lot of people from the Northeast who were raised in that, you go, you do, you pay attention, and you just follow what you're supposed to do. When I discovered what faith actually meant, when my mind was open to it and I could make it what worked for me, you guys, it is amazing. And again, that's no pressure for anybody else to think or believe or do, but the music is what brought me in and what has carried me through, and it's just magic. So when I heard the music playing this morning and when I heard what Jim was just talking about, I didn't tell Jim what I was going to speak on today at all. And it is almost exactly it's about faith, but in a different sense. So I am so excited for this. I am Christine Keegan. I am direct to Jamie Susie in the, Susie, Reinecke, Pogue, Wayland hierarchy. Ours is so long. I always make sure I don't forget anybody in between. Um, and I am so excited to share with you today. I need to ask for permission to be vulnerable because everybody's journey here has its highs and its lows. And I feel like when we can associate with some of the lows, that association makes us feel valid. It makes us feel that we're not alone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the lows here. Anybody know what imposter syndrome means? Imposter syndrome is literally the story of my life. Give you a little bit of background. I went When I went through high school, through college, I was always kind of a hustler. I always figured out how to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time, which, there's a little bit of leverage in there. I would babysit, I would house sit, I would pet sit. Sometimes I would do all three at the same time to make sure I could maximize the time that I did have. I refused to ever take a job that had a schedule. So I must have had this entrepreneur bug from when I was young. And then I always kind of fell into the next thing. I went to college. I wanted to be an athletic trainer. I got out. I started in athletic training. I despised it. Traveling on coach buses with sweaty hockey players was not very glamorous. Um, and I was sitting on the beach the summer after my first year and decided to quit. My sister's best friend was a principal at a school in Boston and said, "Hey, we're always looking for teachers. Why don't you come up here and I'll give you a job?" Had no degree in teaching. I had a lot of athletic experience. Just like Gabby, I was a collegiate softball player. Go Sun Devils. And I was like, yeah, I can do this, except it was math. Numbers and I do not get along. It was one of the hardest things that I ever did. The hardest thing that I had to do with that job was to go to my sister's best friend and say, "I can't do this." She kept me on. She put me into a building sub position, stayed there for the year. It was great. I got a lot of experience. 9/11 happened. So now I'm dating myself and aging myself. And I moved back home to Connecticut. I was dating someone whose mom was the principal secretary at a high school. Again, fell into a job that was a leave replacement job. And then I fell into another job at probably the highest paying district in the country. This might knock Sarah off her shoes. But I was making about $64,000. Teaching PE is kind of like getting a job, it's a needle in a haystack job. You don't get a job there unless somebody leaves or they die. Those are, the dinosaurs stay on until the end in phys ed jobs. It was fantastic. But that's where the imposter syndrome started because what did I do to earn that position? I fell into it. I didn't have anything special about me. I didn't have a degree in it. I ended up getting my certification because my athletic training classes said I was qualified, which is kind of scary. Um, and I just did it. I knew what I needed to do. I knew kids. I loved kids, and I did it. And I did it for 17 years at that school. Um, I was introduced to network marketing in 2014, which is where I met Jim and Jamie. Had a blast, grew a huge team very quickly. Again, had no idea what I was doing, but it just kept happening organically. It kept happening and happening and happening. Grew this enormous team, and then I hit a wall again. A lot of it had to do with being undeveloped. I read a lot of books, I listened to podcasts, I listened to what people were saying about me, which kept me going, but I still wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 50% sure how I had earned being there. It's a big thing, and I was in my head all the time. When my business got really big, I actually ended up quitting teaching. In 2017, I turned 40. I got to a point which I like to call F it. I'll save you from the real words of it. But I got really strong in my belief that I was meant for more. I truly believe that I was meant for more. I didn't know how to get there. I did not have mentorship. I did not have leadership. I was kind of like this fish out of water, just looking for something to either, magnetize me in, suck me in, hit me over the head, whatever I needed to tell me, here's where you can go, here's what you can do, I see you. When you're not seen and you're not recognized, it's really hard to know what the good parts are that you can continue to work on, but what the weaknesses are that you need to continue to grow and expand. And I did have a leader in another company that I joined where his big focus was on stretching and expanding your capacity. I feel like that's not something that we talk about enough is, we are ingrained to think that here's our top, here's our level. That capacity can continue to be stretched and can continue to be grown, but we have to be challenged in order to do that. If if there's no one acknowledging where you are, who you are, what you're doing, how do we know how that we are capable of stretching that capacity? And that's not to put that responsibility on other people, but it's to show and talk about our responsibility with other people, to acknowledge them, to see them, to show them, and to push them to see that their greatest ability is yet to come. um, when it came to insurance, Jim had reached out to me when he first came here, and I was like, absolutely not. I am not doing insurance. That's boring. That's gross. That's not me. Then I saw Jamie continue to do it. Sarah and I, we were not social media friends at that point, so I didn't see any of her stuff, but Jamie's social media certainly continued to pique my interest. So I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I like money. I like to make money. My other network marketing business continued to go down after COVID. And I was like, what do I have to lose at this point? I'm not employable. I will never be employable because I cannot have anybody else be my boss except for me. And I did it. I finally got my license. I finally decided it was time to do it. And I came in and I fell flat on my face. I didn't realize how little I knew. I didn't realize how much I needed to still learn. And I didn't know how to do it. I couldn't figure it out. I would run appointments with people. I would have applications that I didn't sign, but I submitted it into Opt. And I'm like, why haven't I gotten paid on this application? And, 45 days later, I would look at it and say, or I would bring it to Jamie and say, hey, do you know why I didn't get paid on this? And she would say, well, the applications aren't signed. You didn't submit them. Whoops. So I had so much that I needed to learn. I have my notes here in front of me, so don't mind me looking down. I did hire a few people. Angel was my Uber driver, if you ever heard that story. I was going to visit my parents in Florida. My flight got canceled. I went home and he was my Uber driver. I said, hey, people make a lot of money here. Are you open to that? And he said, yeah. So he got licensed and we've been here together ever since. I did get punched in the mouth big time a year and a half ago-ish at this point. One of the people that I hired was someone that I knew from the industry, from network marketing, who I thought was a friend. That friend brought in two other people, and those people left me with a $12,000 collective chargeback. That was a punch in the face, a punch in the mouth, a punch in the gut, and it derailed me to a point where I didn't know if I was going to recover from this. It also led to me getting terminated by foresters. It was an awful time. It was a very confusing time for me, and I didn't know how to recover. We had an event in Baltimore last summer. I decided to drive down. I went to Meg Madison's house for the night before we went to the event, had a great time. Jim was at the event, and I had a heart to heart with him. It was more like, I just left tears all over the place because I couldn't understand why this happened to me. Again, this is where faith came into play. I had to dig deep to know that things were going to be okay, but I had to do the work to recover from that. I had to pay back that money that was left on my shoulders, that was left, as my debt in order to make my business go forward. So I tried to figure out how to do that. It's been a long journey. Emotionally, I don't know if I've totally recovered yet because, again, being vulnerable and being totally honest, it made me gun shy to recruit. If a friend could do that to me, what could people who I didn't know do to me? I had to figure this out and figure out how to trust again. That's a journey. It's a lot of journaling. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of leaning into other people and borrowing their belief. When I saw the lineup this week between Jim, Christina, Joe, and Rich, and knowing that I was going to go on Friday, I was like, how am I going to do this? And Joe touched on it yesterday about borrowing belief. I have borrowed belief from so many different people, not even necessarily leaders, but just other people who have that raw belief, that blind faith, and literally have linked arms to say, I'm going to recover from this. I'm going to do this. I know I can do this. It paralyzed me. I knew that I could get good at this. I just couldn't figure out how. How at 46 could I start and learn to develop and grow? I literally had to start back at square one and redo my business plan. I had to redo my vision and my journey for getting good at this thing. That's when Jim started this accountability group. I started here, there were probably 25 people that came here on a daily basis. And I have been so blown away by the growth of this group. It is literally, I will not miss this call. I refuse to miss this call. I often have my camera off because I go for my walk in the morning and I'm showering when it happens, and there's no need for you to see my, the tile on my wall, or if God forbid I walk out and you see something else. So my camera's off and off. But I'm going to change that starting next week. I'm going to do my walk earlier, so I am here and I am present. I had to, and as Christina said the other day, I had to dig deep and make a decision that I was going to make it in this business. Quitting is not an option, and it never will be an option for me. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of books. I have so many podcasts saved. I have so many, different videos, trainings from here. It's when you allow other people to pour into you, that's what's going to give you the spark to get the fire back. If you feel like you can't even get to that spark, reach out to someone, reach out to me. Fueling other people is probably one of my most favorite things to do, because so many other people have poured into my cup and allowed me to be here and allowed me to grow and allowed me to get through that ugly duckling. What can I do to help other people get to where I want to be, because I owe it to everybody else because of what I've gotten. So don't be shy. Please don't be shy. I have to stay on this, otherwise I'm going to cry. I shifted my focus and my presence. I have made intentional decisions on where to spend my energy, on where to pour my energy into, and who I've allowed to pour into me. You're allowed to shift. Give yourself permission to do things that you didn't think you were allowed to do. This is your business. This is your journey. When you make that decision and you pivot to do something else that other people might not agree with, that's freedom. When I was teaching and I was talking about quitting, People said that I was crazy to give up tenure, to give up benefits, to give up a pension. Those were handcuffs. That was an anchor to me. When you're in one of those jobs where you know exactly what your salary is going to be the day that you start work, that's where is the inspiration or the room to grow? You know exactly what you're going to get paid. You know exactly what your day's on and exactly what your day's off and exactly what you're going to do. That's monotony. That's Groundhog Day. There is no room for you to grow as a person. So people who, when you have those golden handcuffs, it's a struggle because there's no guarantee that you're going to make money here. You owe it to yourself to dig in, to learn the things, to do the things, to get the trainings to go there. My amazing Little Engine That Could team earned us Key Leader this year. There are 7 of us who have been here constantly and consistently. And a team of 7 is typically and traditionally not one that will get your team to Key Leader. I will never say that I am a Key Leader. Our team got us to where we are. And I owe it to them for everything that we do. And we hit it the month before qualifications for the soiree. So I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do it again? You guys, we haven't missed it since we hit it. And I love that my team is so hungry and they want to grow and they want to do the things and they want to do the hard things because this is hard. I have never had to do anything that was hard in my life. I've worked hard. I shouldn't say I haven't done that, but I've worked hard. Like you can work hard at a puzzle. You can work hard at yard work. You can work hard at, learning new recipes and doing those kind of things. But hard work is different than working hard. Hard work is when you have to peel those layers back in your mind and absorb new things and try different things and maybe throw away some things that you thought you knew because what we think we know isn't always the thing that's good. Reading, listening, and participating is going to get you to where you want to be. I know that I am not the hare, I am the tortoise, and I am okay having scaffolded work. I don't need hockey stick growth to know that we're going to get to where we want to be. I'm okay with steps. I'm okay with laying those bricks and making sure that I'm linking arms with the people who are going to inspire me, motivate me, and help me grow. You have to ask for help. Pride is the enemy. I have started something with my team, especially with new agents, of I do, we do, you do, because I don't want anyone else to feel as lost as I did when I first started here. I want to make sure that they know that the resources that we have here are super, super strong, but I do it with you, we do it together, and then I set you free and you do it. And I'm going to be here to make sure that you have the confidence and the resources to go out and do the things. Know yourself to lead yourself. That was a hard one. I know myself well enough now to know that I have not asked for enough help. I have not leaned into enough people. And I owe it to myself and I owe it to my team to do that. And now here comes the emotions. There are some people in the last 10 days who I've had to lean on and reach out to because I just got the biggest curveball that I've ever had in my life handed to me. I would not be strong enough to handle this curveball if I hadn't joined Symmetry. The Monday before convention, I went for my routine mammogram and walked out of that mammogram with a breast cancer diagnosis. I made the decision to go to conference because I needed my cup filled before I had to face all of these things, before I had to face the testing, all of the doctors, all of the hard things. I needed my cup filled. And this company and you people, all of you, are magic. I am not private about this because I feel like my journey is going to help other people. And I have to thank Lady Melinda, Stella, Derek, and Aaron Fitzgerald because I know that they've gone through this journey. And I went to them and opened myself to be vulnerable to ask for help through this journey. And they're going to be my rocks. They're going to be my, they're going to share their experiences with me. Some of them already have. But I know that they made it through, and so am I. I got to share with Joe Anderson the other day. I had been meaning to reach out to him. That I needed for him to pour into me a little bit. I needed to be seen. So he turned to Jim and said, Keegs is going to be on the call on Friday. And Jim said, absolutely. Let's go. Let's do it. The reason I wanted to share that part of my story about my next journey is because we have such a community here that inspire, that will be honest with us, that will be there for us, that will be quiet with us. And we owe it to ourselves to allow this community to plug into us. I am not going to stop anything with my journey here. I have no idea what my journey is going to look like. I know it's going to be at least a year long with treatment. And I've downplayed a little bit what my diagnosis has kind of done to me emotionally and mentally. My oncologist called last night and said, your case is being presented at Dana-Farber in Boston today at Harvard University. And I was like, wait a second, me? Again, with the imposter syndrome, what is so special about me that I deserve for those doctors to look at my case? And it just hit me like, oh my God, this is happening. And Joe Anderson wore pink today. Joe Anderson played Whatever It Takes as the first song before a lot of you got in here. I was going to ask Jim to play that song today because I am going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes for me, for my team, and for all of you to beat this, to still be present, and to tackle this with everything that I have. So thank you all. I've gotten so many amazing notes and messages and all the good stuff from so many of you. And I don't tell you this, I don't want a pity party. That's not who I am. We got this, I got this. And, that's all I got today, Jim. I had to throw that in at the end.
Keegs, I adore you. This is new news to me too. We're praying for you, sister. We're in the corner with you. And I'll tell you, I remember that conversation that we had. I know exactly where we were sitting when you told me, about the debt and the struggle. And I expected you to quit. I thought that was going to be too much. I really did. I've seen people quit for a lot less than that. And you didn't. And you kept pressing in, and you accepted the hard, and you accepted the challenge, and you put it on your shoulders, and you fought for it. I talk to a lot of people in this business, and they'll come across challenges, and they'll tell me this, and I'll get this all the time. They'll be like, well, I'm not going to quit. And they say it with that tone. And the minute I hear that tone, I'm like, well, not yet. But the fact that that even exists as an option to you, the fact that that even exists as a word or a phrase or a thought, that you're almost surprised yourself that you're not going to, it's a matter of time. So, okay, this obstacle isn't big enough. When's the next big one coming that's going to derail you? And what I watched in you, Christine, was I watched a grit and a fire and a determination that did whatever it takes, and that prepared you for a new battle where you're going to do whatever it takes. But you've got precedent where you've already risen to an occasion with your back against the wall. You've already fought with whatever it takes, and it prepared you. And people forget this all the time. They see the hard and they retreat from the hard. The hard is never about the hard now. The hard is never about the challenge in front of you. The hard is about becoming the person that can freaking do hard things, because life is coming at you hard. You're gonna have shit come at you in a way you didn't expect and you weren't prepared for. And the only question is, are you strong enough to handle it? And if you have avoided hard after avoided hard after avoided hard your whole life, and then life throws hard at you unexpectedly, I don't know what to tell you. You're a weak person and you're not going to have what it takes to do it. Or else you're going to have to find out real quick. When we spent a year walking past our daughter's room, not knowing if we were going to see our daughter in her room or the shell of her body because she was suicidal and depressed and cutting herself, and we had to swallow that as parents and live with it every day, I will tell you there's not a harder hard that we have done. But because we were back against the wall and I fought through this every freaking day, battling my emotion, battling my will, battling my grit, battling my levels and capacities of what I thought I could handle, I was ready for that battle. We fought that. And you've seen Sadie on this call. We won that battle. But I wouldn't have been strong enough for that battle had I not stayed in the hard and fought in the hard when the hard was there for me. Had I retreated from smaller hard, I wouldn't have been ready for the big hard. Don't run from hard. This is hard. It's going to challenge you, especially emotionally, especially in the 6 inches between your head. You're going to wonder if you have what it takes. You're going to wonder if it's worth it. Every day you're going to wonder if it's worth it. Sometimes 3 times a day you're going to wonder if it's worth it. It is worth it. Not just because of what you build, because of who you become. And what you build is the overflow and byproduct of who you become. That's this game, guys. This game is personal development. This game is growing you. I'm proud of you, Christine. I have no doubt that because of the grit you have already shown, you're ready for this battle. Because of the association you have embraced, you have the support for this battle. So go to war, sister. You got a lot of people behind you. A lot of people behind you in this battle. I love you. I'm
Love
proud
you
of you.
too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your transparency and vulnerability this morning, too. So good. All right. On that note, guys, breakout rooms are open. I'm going to stop this recording.